good afternoon. This is Kathleen Taylor with the Nevada Women's Business Center. And thank you so much for tuning in to our online live streaming webinar. And it's my pleasure to have Dr. Evan Allen as our guest today. And Dr. Allen, he's going to share some best practices specifically in the health and wellness industry. So those of you that are interested in pursuing an entrepreneur venture within the health and wellness sector, then Dr. Allen is here to give you some pointers about that. And so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. And I'd like to share some of your background with the audience.
All right.
So Dr. Evan Allen is the owner of Dr. Allen Wellness Center, and he has been a board-certified family physician for over 23 years. Also, he recently appeared as an expert in his field in an internationally successful Hollywood-style documentary called Eating You Alive, which I find fascinating. Now, this film is about why we as a society are so sick and what we can do about it. Also, Dr. Allen is also a frequent special guest on the Las Vegas Fox 5 morning news show as an expert in medical, nutrition, and lifestyle issues. So it's our pleasure to have you as an excellent resource for our startup entrepreneur audience or established business owners that are in this particular sector.
Wonderful.
Yes, and just as a caveat, everyone, towards the end of the broadcast, it is my pleasure to have Ms. Christina Stace of the SBA Small Business Administration to also share their services with you too. So please stay tuned towards the end of the broadcast. Now, Dr. Evan, Dr. Allen. So could you tell us about, your wellness center?
Well, sure. So my experience was that I was a pretty traditional family practice doctor, and I had an insurance-based practice that I had owned since 2007, where just like any other practice that you go to, you would have your maybe 5-10 minutes with the provider,
right?
Which is about the amount of time it takes to adjust a medication up or down, or order a test, or discuss the results of the test, but not much else.
Exactly.
And so what I would do is treat my patients, and I thought I was really good at what I did. I knew all the pills, I knew how they worked, I knew what to change and what to do. But what I unfortunately saw was that my patients didn't ever get better. They just needed more pills over time.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's what modern medicine really is really good at. And I was good at that, and I was trained how to do that, but it wasn't as satisfying as I would have liked it to be when I went to medical school.
Yes.
And I was living my life the same way. Like, I thought, well, I'll just, if I need pills, I'll start taking them, and occasionally I would get sick, and then I would go get antibiotics or whatever, but I never really had any major health problems, and I thought, well, I should be okay. I'm pretty good about this, and I gained a little bit of weight, but I didn't think too much about it.
Sure.
Then my son was born, and they needed to qualify for life insurance. And I was shocked to find that I had actually developed, the metabolic syndrome, where I had fatty liver, and my blood sugar was going up, and my cholesterol was going up, and my blood pressure wasn't where I wanted it. And so I was pretty unhappy with that.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what to do about it.
Isn't that interesting that as a doctor, you didn't know what to do
I
about it?
knew that I should lose weight.
Right.
And I knew that I should exercise.
Right.
But I was exercising. I was playing racquetball very regularly. And I just couldn't lose weight. And I just didn't feel very healthy. So I was kind of searching around, and my wife forced me to watch a film, and I thought, I'm not going to watch this movie. Or if I watch it, I'm going to hate it. So I watched the film. It was called Forks Over Knives, and I was right. I hated it.
Okay.
And I thought, these people are all quacks, and I'm going to expose them, and I'm going to write up a big thing about how they're all wrong. And I went through, and I looked into the literature, and I looked into the science of it, and I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and I kept trying to find that part where they were all wrong. And there just wasn't.
Wow. This is interesting.
So the thesis of that film is that our nutrition is the most important part of our lives, and that it really determines our health, and that many of these chronic diseases that people get, the ones that we think of, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, the diabetes, and all the things that older people get together and talk about their pills on, those are all actually caused by mostly by what we eat.
Right, it is.
And so I changed how I ate dramatically,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost 45 pounds.
And how much time?
About 6 months.
Oh, that's
And
more than reasonable.
effortlessly, with no real attempt to lose weight per se, just changing the health value of what I ate. And then also noticed that I got rid of my asthma, which I
Oh,
had had.
interesting.
Used to wheeze all the time. And then I also noticed that I got a new qualification physical for my life insurance, and I had gone up 2 ranks so that I could get double the life insurance for the same price.
Oh, excellent, because of your
because
health.
of my better scores and
Mhm.
much better cholesterol and everything was better. So I kind of thought to myself, here I am, I'm doing this for myself.
Right.
But when I go to work, I'm still just writing people pills to lower their cholesterol, pills to lower their blood pressure, pills to lower their blood sugar, all the stuff that we sort of expect from doctors. I should really be sharing this with people who I actually treat.
Yeah.
But I got 10 minutes, right?
Right.
So you can express things in 10 minutes, but it's hard to convince someone of something in 10 minutes, or it's hard to motivate behavior change in 10 minutes, right?
Right.
Anybody who has a bad habit, it's going to take a little longer typically than just 10 minutes to fix that. But I just started, dropping to people, mostly this is caused by how you live, mostly this is caused by your diet. You could do this, this, and this, and it would really help a lot. And for most people, that falls on deaf ears. Most people are just not ready to hear that. They're not ready to make change. They're not going to see a huge difference. But for some small number, they would hear me and they would go, oh, okay, well, I'll do that. And they would go do it.
Did you share your story with them within that 10-minute frame?
To the degree, yes.
To the,
I mean, we've already probably been going for longer than 10 minutes as it is. To the degree that I could, yes.
Sure.
And so one of them actually came back and saw me a year later and had lost 100 pounds.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
Solved all kinds of problems and everything had
Sure.
gotten better. And I said, really? Well, I haven't seen you. I just followed the advice you gave me and it totally worked.
Fantastic.
I had a patient who completely reversed their diabetes, didn't need diabetes medicine anymore, didn't have any other problems. Now these were uncommon. I don't want to act like I had become,
Sure.
the healer who just did one quick touch and everything would go away.
Uh-huh.
But they were enough to make me think, hey, really, there might be something about this that is maybe a lot better than what I'm doing right now. So, we talked and talked about how best to do this, and the problem was always, there's just no time in a regular visit to really get people that information. So we decided we would come up with a model where there was time.
Okay.
And what we decided on was a practice where, you can buy individual appointments with me, where we just have all the time that you want in that, 1-hour appointment to discuss whatever is important to you.
Okay.
We can really get into the weeds of what's going on with your lifestyle. What are you doing that's right? What are you doing that could be better? What are you willing to change? What are you not willing to change? What's important to you in terms of your health, and what's a side issue? And we can really get into those issues. And then we also developed a membership package where for people who really want to motivate a big lifestyle change, you're not going to get that done in 1 day or 5 days or 10 days. That's a long-term process.
Yes,
so
it is.
For us, what we wanted was there shouldn't be any barrier to someone getting in, getting advice, being seen when they're not doing well, being seen when they're doing poorly. And so we developed a membership plan where people could purchase a membership to our practice. And then there was no copay, no deductible, no money changed hands at each individual visit. And that was done on an as-needed basis. So if you needed us, we were there. If you wanted to have something handled over the phone and didn't want to bother coming in, that's also an option. If you want to have the security that you'll be able to get in right away if there's a problem, but you don't want to have to come in all the time, that's also an option. So we really felt like we were able to handle a much greater scope and do it much more thoroughly and with much more effectiveness when we just take that whole, this is your copay, this is how much you have to pay. That is all off the table. People can come in and see us when they need, and they don't have to come in and see us when they don't need, because we're going to be whole either way because of the membership model. And so it's been wonderful, and it's worked really well for us.
Excellent. So in reference to the membership model or your business model specifically, let's talk a little bit about if someone is going into this field,
Mhm.
you have industry experience in
Right.
being an MD, so to speak.
Yeah.
You even have
Mhm.
your own personal story as
Absolutely.
to how lifestyle modification with diet, with
Mhm.
nutrition, impacts your overall health and
Absolutely.
well-being. So, taking that, did you then do like the traditional market research to see if there is a need in the community for a type of wellness practice? Did you do any type of industry analysis so to help you make an informed decision that this is a target market, this is a good model for that target market?
So we had previously worked with a company that had done a whole bunch of research in our zip code about
Okay.
a membership-based practice.
Sure.
That company was based out of Silicon Valley and was
Mhm.
funded by a bunch of VCs. And they felt like we were in a really good spot, and we had seen all that research,
Okay.
which we kind of got for free because they wanted us to join up, but then they did not succeed.
Okay.
And their national, you know, program, just for whatever reason, didn't work quite as well as they had wanted,
Mhm.
and I think some of that was factors beyond their control. But we felt like we had the market in place that we would be able to do that, and so we kind of cheated by piggybacking on that research that we'd already looked at.
But it was, valid research.
But it had been done, and yeah,
Yes.
it had been looked at.
Okay. Now, in looking at, did you take it from more of a business plan perspective, or was it more like an organic,
It was-
progression?
I think it was based primarily on the benefit of me having the traditional practice that
Mhm.
still was there and still is there today,
Okay.
and was still, a source of income, and that would allow me to keep my fingers in that area as well, which I still do.
Okay.
But it would free up my time to have,
Mhm.
providers who work with me there, so that my, my minute-to-minute need to be in the exam rooms was decreased, and it allowed me to open up this other center with budget, with enough ability to do that. And if we had not had that, we would have had to go back and get a loan or some other process to start that up. But I still think the business model would be very successful in either case. And I think
Sure.
I think in general, for someone who wants to do a health and wellness type of a business,
Yes.
the membership model is really the ideal way to go.
Mhm.
Because what you have is you have people who want to make a big change, and those people are really motivated, and they're very strongly motivated, and their upfront work with you will be significant. But that upfront work is probably not going to maintain that level of significance or the necessary effort that you have to put in initially for an entire 12-month period.
Okay. And what type
So-
of upfront work are you referring to specifically?
Changing diet, changing
Uh-huh.
exercise patterns, finding ways to help people quit smoking, finding ways for people to, get into the right social situation,
Sure.
living arrangements, things like that.
Mhm.
All those things up front initially, there's a lot of crisis, there's a lot of stuff
Absolutely.
going on. That's when people are really willing to just go forward and get something done. And so what we try to do is stabilize and make things as good as they can get.
Mhm.
And then you're just working on longer term goals. Well, longer term goals just take time and effort.
They do.
And so we can decrease how often we need to really follow people on a close basis
Mhm.
during that period of time. And so they see the big value of the membership early on, and then they realize, well, I want the ability, if I have a crisis, to get that level of service. But once their crisis is over, they realize they don't need quite so much. And so you are still whole for that period of time.
Right.
But you're really not doing as much
Mhm.
intervention
Mhm.
once someone gets on a stable path. And I think that's a general rule for
I agree.
fitness,
Yes.
or for diet change, or for financial problems, or for any business that is similar in the advice giving realm, right?
I agree.
Someone who comes in for advice has a big need, and then that need will dissipate over a period of time. So if you do a membership model, you're able to do the hard work
Mhm.
and not have to worry about, well, then what am I going to do?
Yeah, because it kind of sustains itself over
Mhm.
time. Now, what I find interesting is, given that you have the wellness component of your business and also the traditional medical component,
Mhm.
it looks like you have two primary target base
Well, that's correct.
customers.
And they're two separate businesses.
Uh-huh.
So that So on the one side, if a patient wants to see me and they want to do that under their traditional insurance-based model and
Mhm.
get their 5 to 10 minutes, then
Uh-huh.
that's an option
Sure.
for them, and
Uh-huh.
they can do that.
Sure.
But they're going to get the care that is typical for that.
Typical for
Whereas
that.
if they want to, how many people are just sick and tired of taking 10 pills a day?
Right. Sick and
How
tired
many
of being
people
sick
are
and
sick and
tired.
tired of going to the urgent care 3 times a year and going to the ER once every couple of years with these severe crises that are very fixable but won't fix themselves, right?
Right.
So those people who are interested in doing that harder work,
Mhm.
interested in making those bigger changes, then they're a perfect fit for me on the wellness side. And they're the people who we really, can make a huge change with.
Do you use, and I'm not trying to dive into a breach in confidentiality, I'm just curious, do you use a patient that's on the traditional side and they want to go to the, more holistic health and wellness side? Do you use their medical charts as a baseline to kind of follow them as they progress from one dynamic to the other?
Well, I know these people, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, we will
I just
know
find it
where they
interesting.
started out
Mhm.
and where they've ended up,
Uh-huh.
and we get to track that. And
Isn't
again,
that fascinating?
nothing is perfect. Nothing
Uh-huh.
works 100% of the time for everybody because that's how we're wired.
Sure.
But the results have been phenomenal.
I can
in terms
imagine.
of what people are able to accomplish, and that's another big difference. The psychology of I did this,
Mhm.
and I did this
I agree.
after because we had a guy came in. He was spending $250 a month on his diabetes medicines alone.
Wow. Wow.
Just on the diabetes medications alone. And, with some changes, he was able to drop them all.
That's
He
fantastic.
dropped about 45 pounds, feels better, energy is better, and what does that teach him? That teaches him, hey, where's the power center here? Who gets to decide whether I'm healthy or not? Is it my doctor?
Good
Or
point.
is it me?
Good point. Absolutely.
And, I think we have in this culture kind of gotten into a mindset of, well, a good doctor will just keep me healthy. Well, unfortunately, no.
I agree.
Best doctor in the world
Sure.
won't do that well. I just saw a study published last week, and in that study, they took people who are over 65 who had
Mhm.
had their first heart attack, and they followed them out 10 years. 63% were dead within 10 years after that first heart attack after age 65. And that's with the
Tradition.
best care supposedly that
Wow.
America has to offer. So there's a real problem, right? And that's a problem not with how we deliver insurance to people. Those people mostly had insurance. It's
Mhm.
not a problem with accessibility to doctor visits. Those people probably were able to see doctors and get pills because they're all over 65.
Right.
So they're all eligible for Medicare. There's a problem of we're causing the disease with what we do, and we're not, even a heart attack isn't waking us up to make those changes.
So I'm curious in reference to like community partnerships or collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a referral base of this is a holistic nutritionist that I'd like to connect you with, or this is a Pilates studio I'd like to connect you with? Do you have like
Absolutely.
ancillary support systems
So we
too?
have relationships with several different types of people. We have relationships with traditional medical providers, cardiologists, and gastroenterologists, and other people like that
Uh-huh.
who work with us. Then we also have relationships with a physical therapist who is sort of on board with how we practice and how we do things, and
Sure.
works with us that way. And then we also have relationships with yoga studios and places like that, which again, we don't necessarily tell people there's this one way and this is the only
Sure.
way that you can do it,
Sure.
because some people would say, well, will you tell me to meditate? Oh yeah, I'd love it if you meditate. Oh, I love meditation. Well, then meditation's great for you. You should totally do that.
Mhm.
Whereas someone else, the idea of meditation, they would never do it. So
Right.
it's not for them. We figure some other way to work on those issues with them. And that's where we have sort of a wealth of relationships, and those relationships are a huge part of our strength.
Absolutely. So when someone is embarking or have an existing business within the health and wellness model
Mhm.
or sector, would you advise that they be strategic in their partnerships so that they
Absolutely.
can be a referral source and vice
Absolutely.
versa.
And find those people who know what you do, know what they do, and know that they work together well.
Yes.
What you don't want is a client who has been, really happy with your service, and then you refer them to another person, whoever that might be, and then they're very unhappy with that
Very good.
service.
Good.
Because then
Good advice.
that is really something that came from you.
Yes.
And, sometimes oftentimes I'll say, I don't really know anybody and I don't have a recommendation I can make. You might want to find someone on your own. If you think that person is really good, please let us know.
Sure.
Because in some areas we just don't have a lot of good people that we know for sure that will work well with us. And so as far as nutrition goes, we have a nutritionist on staff.
Very good.
And we can do our own nutritional analyses, which are really good and really thorough. And then we also have the ability to do body composition and some other things. So
would you advise someone that is within this sector of business, if they are considering the membership model, to have the option of making it customizable? Because like you said, a Pilates or meditation may work for me and may not work for someone else.
Exactly.
So have that flexibility within the membership model?
Sure, and again, I think, having a menu of services that you offer, you have the option of making that membership for only small parts of that menu, or a substantial part of the menu, or all of the menu.
Sure.
Or you can purchase each individual service at a specified fee. Is a great model to take people who say, well, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this or that, and then they can experience what you have to offer and see if they like you and see if they want to be a customer. The bottom line is, if they don't like you and they don't want to be your customer, you don't want to buy a membership anyway.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
They're not going to be a particularly helpful resource to experience what you're offering. You want happy, satisfied, excited customers who are going to walk away from their experience with your business and say, I wish everybody I know could have some of the same wonderful things that I got from this business.
Right.
Because it was so great. That's how you want people to experience with you. And those people who don't have that experience, which, hey, I'm sure there are plenty of people all around the world who are wonderful people who just not everybody gets along with. And so there are people who don't get along with you or won't work well with you. And those are customers who really should find someone else who can work with them anyway.
No, you bring up a really good point here, because in the sector of health and wellness, there's this like rose-colored glasses perception that everything is hunky-dory and everyone is in this I like, you like, we like kind of dynamic. But in reality, you still are managing staff. You still are responsible for personnel development and customer service, from a business perspective. So what is your advice when it comes to personnel management on the professional side and also on the customer service side?
Kathleen, there's nothing more important than customer service. And there's no better way to get good customer service than to hire good people who care about the mission of the business and want the business to succeed.
Absolutely.
If the business mission doesn't really track well with a person who's working in the business, then they're just not going to give you that level of performance.
I agree.
That you could get from somebody who cares about that business. I always think about it like a comic book store, which if you go to a comic book store and you start talking about an obscure comic book to the clerk at the comic book store, and that clerk has no idea what you're talking about, you probably will be less likely to make a big buy at that comic book store than you would if he was like, oh yeah, that one's really great.
I agree.
And so what you want is enthusiasm, and you want people who have that level of understanding and will give you the vibe that you're expecting from that type of business. And so that's what we look for as well, and we've been so lucky to have gotten such great people to work for us.
So on your website, do you have any? I did browse through it. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
I was just curious. Is there any particular testimonial that kind of really grabs at you, you know, from on the day to day that you
They all do.
experience?
I mean, unfortunately, I know them all.
Uh-huh.
They're all amazing people who've accomplished such great things.
Now, you just touched upon something that's really key. I know them all. You may not necessarily get this type of, you know, bonding experience, so to speak, you know, within a 10-minute exchange with a traditional, practitioner. But here, you know, at your wellness center, you give patients, you give people the option of, if you want something more beyond the whole 10-minute exchange, and I'm not trying to discredit that at all. But here you have an option where you have someone who is taking the time to get to know you, to understand your needs.
Absolutely.
And that definitely ties into customer service.
Sure.
And the longevity of the customer relationship too.
Absolutely, because again, you're not chart number XYZ.
Exactly.
You are this person, and I pretty much have a good file in my head of what's going on and where things are at and where we left it. We have that ability, whereas again, you know, we have 5,000, 6,000 people. They all blur together after a while.
Yes,
And
they
that's
do.
just the nature of any business, that if you have a high volume business, then each client is just a percentage less important than if you have a smaller volume business where you're really able to devote that energy to those customers. So.
I agree. Now, looking at it from a financial perspective, there are different options that people can buy a business or enter into a business. I think you said earlier that venture capitalist VCs were involved
with another company that was looking
with
at
another
partnering
company.
with us.
Okay.
Yes.
So from a funding perspective, what type of advice would you give someone that that's thinking about getting into this sector? Should they partner with someone? Should they look for investors? Should they use their own savings or get a loan from a bank or an alternative funder?
I would have to say it so depends on what you're envisioning.
Very good.
You know, if you're thinking like I thought, which is pretty small, if you're thinking, I want to open a business where I can go to work every day and I can feel comfortable that I'm just giving the very best to everybody who comes into that business. I'm not looking to take it, you know, nationwide in a year.
Sure.
I'm not looking to make a giant splash in the world. I just want to be able to have a solid source of income for myself and be able to make the business sustainable. Well, then a VC doesn't want to talk to you.
Absolutely, good point.
They're not interested. They're looking for logarithmic growth.
Yes.
And that's what they'll talk about.
Right.
And so you shouldn't waste your time with something like that. You would be much better off in that circumstance going to the SBA, going to a local bank, or finding friends and relatives who want to share the risk with you, or things like that, or saving your own money until you have enough to be able to make it until the business is on its feet. Those are all options that somebody who's interested in a smaller local, you know, customer service focused, and you know the profit margin is not your number one biggest goal.
Yes.
Then that's what would be for you. But if you have an idea that you think could revolutionize the world within a year or two, and is an idea that you think customer buy-in will be massive, then yeah, VC would be probably very interested in hearing that sort of thing. And if you can convince them, then it's going to make everything else that you're doing much easier. I mean, the nice thing is everybody's watched Shark Tank now.
Right.
So everybody knows how that VC process works, and that it's not, you know, all sweetness and light, and everybody's just going to love your idea.
Exactly.
They're going to say, oh, how much money can I give you? That's a hard process. But if that's what you think you can do, which many people have thought they could do it and then done it.
Yes.
But many more people have thought they could do it and didn't do it.
And that's
but
just
if you
the
think you
nature
want
of
to
it.
get into that arena, then that's the arena to play in, if that idea is set.
Now, in reference to promotion and marketing, we are a visual society.
Absolutely.
And your film about Eating You Alive, and also being a frequent special guest on the Las Vegas Fox 5 More show in the morning. How does that tie into your marketing and promotion campaign with your business?
So it's wonderful, and it's additional exposure for
Mhm.
people who would not otherwise know about us to get to know us. But I have to admit, the best marketing we have is a happy customer.
Absolutely.
Who, has experienced our office, likes to come in,
Mhm.
likes to get the care that we offer,
Mhm.
and then wants to come back. That person is, as good as gold.
It is.
But that person has a limited reach, whereas a film like Eating You Alive
Sure.
has
Unlimited.
unlimited potential reach. And so it's a way to get the idea behind what we do,
Mhm.
and the fact that here I am, this guy in Las Vegas, and if you happen to live in Las Vegas and you happen to watch that film and you're thinking, is there a guy in town who can do this with me?
Yes.
Then yes, that's wonderful. And then again, same thing with the Moore Show. I mean, we kind of do whatever the Moore Show wants us to talk about, and what we were able to offer is,
Mhm.
hey, we have an idea about how this relates to lifestyle and how this relates to your health on whatever topic that you've picked,
Mhm.
that can really give, value to the people who happen to be watching the show that day. And that's another way to just increase that knowledge that, hey, we exist, we're here, for people who wouldn't know about us.
Absolutely. So would you recommend that on a smaller scale, maybe someone could use like a 30-second or even a 15-second video about
Sure.
who they are and what they do in the health and wellness
Yeah.
sector to broaden that net?
And the beauty is it's 2017, so you can get a pretty high quality video made. You can put that
Mhm.
on an internet streaming site.
Yes.
You can add that to your own webpage,
Mhm.
and then that's your entry. People will then get to know you from that,
Exactly.
and then that can get you bigger and bigger
Yes.
appearances. I mean, essentially, the
Mhm.
the producers from Eating You Alive, learned about me from a video I put up on YouTube about coconut oil.
Fantastic.
So that's how this sort of thing grows. Is if you are an expert about an area, you've done a lot of research, you know how it works, and you're confident about explaining that to people, that comes across really well.
Yes, it does.
And if you're hesitant and you kind of don't really know if what you're saying is right or not, and then you might be likable and you still might generate a following,
Mhm.
but you're probably not going to get a reputation as an expert.
Now, speaking of which, I'd like to explore that a bit. Um, well, from your experience, there are people that are fantastic in basically the gift of gab, so to speak,
Mhm.
selling your product or service from a marketing perspective
Mhm.
or a PR perspective. And then there are some that are exceptional when it comes to the wellness, the nutrition,
Mhm.
this and that and the other. So, um, how important is it that you realize the skill set and the strengths of your personnel and to position them in a way that will make them succeed professionally and also benefit the business too, versus placing the person that has the gift of gab trying to explain a medical procedure and they don't have the background for it, so
You definitely want to get
Mhm.
a nice match
yes.
between what is someone's skill set and what are you asking them to do.
Right.
In a smaller place, unfortunately, some people end up being a little bit more jack of all trades.
Yes.
But again, for me, that's where buy-in matters.
Oh, very good.
If you're bought into the idea of the business and you believe in it and you like it a lot, then the buy-in allows that, sometimes we're asking something that might not be right exactly where you're at.
Right.
But you understand, well, there's nobody else to do it,
Mhm.
and so we get that done. But I would say if you have good people who know their strengths, they'll capitalize on those strengths.
Absolutely.
And they'll find ways to bring value to the business as well. But hiring the people who can do the things that you want done, that makes all the difference.
And you touched upon the mission a couple times
Mhm.
of the business. How important is it for someone how do you create that buy-in into the mission of a business versus having someone make the shift of making, collecting a paycheck to someone that is going to, burn the midnight oil, go the extra mile because they really have bought into the mission of the business? How do you cultivate that in staff?
Well, I think we all go in cycles.
Yes, we do.
So there are people who, for several hours are really, really gung-ho, and then they kind of get worn out, and then they just don't have that much oomph for the next few hours or whatever, and that's all normal and that's all fine. If they believe in what you're doing and they believe that it's right, then their just internal sense of how can I help out today, what can I do to be helpful, kicks in, and that is what we see over and over again from all of our staff on both sides. Just excellent people who, given the choice to do the right thing and help somebody out, or just be terse and not helpful, they're always going to do the right thing. And that really is the only reason that my businesses exist. I mean,
Yes.
if I wanted to make an app and go sell that to VCs, then I would have done that. That's not me. I think I've said it on a podcast a couple months ago or a few months ago that there will always be a market for individual people to go talk to another individual person about something that is very important to them and to get that advice. It doesn't matter what happens with computers or
I agree.
Any technology of any sort.
Sure.
People want a human being who's interactive with this system to give them the advice. And you know that from your tech support experiences with your computers, right?
Yes.
You can Google the answer all you
Right.
want, but if you could get a person on the phone
Absolutely.
who knows the system you're working with and knows how to make it go right, that is worth way more than 7 hours or 8 hours of trying to figure it out on your own. Right?
Easily, yes.
So there's always a market for that unvarnished, this is how this has worked, from somebody who's been in that field for a while and knows how it works. So I think that in the long run, anybody who's interested in being in this sector, that stuff matters, that personal connection matters.
Absolutely.
And again, even if you're really big, what you are is you're a bunch of small.
Oh.
All put together.
Very good.
Right?
Well said.
So however big you are, what you want is those individual custom interactions with your business to have that person walking away going, great job, they did. And your experience is probably similar to mine. At this point, I'm really thrilled when they're not bad.
Sure.
Just okay is pretty awesome
Yes,
these days.
I agree, these
because
days.
the norm is horrible. And the
I
norm
agree.
is, I never want to deal with that company again.
Yes.
So it's a low bar to hurdle sometimes. But once you get above that, you can get people who are really, really jazzed.
I agree. Well, are there any additional pearls of wisdom that you'd like to add in closing? This has been a fascinating conversation, Dr. Allen.
Yeah, I would have to say, Kathleen, that the biggest, most important thing is find what you believe in.
Yes.
Find what you care about changing the world. You will change the world with your life. You can change it better, or you can make it worse, or you can change it in some way that doesn't really matter in the long run. You're gonna change it one way or the other. Figure out the change you really want to make, and then find a way for yourself to make it.
Excellent. Well, sage advice, definitely. And Dr. Allen, how can people contact you?
So they can contact us at our phone number, and that's the lowest tech form, probably the easiest, which is 702-754-4900. Or we're available on the internet at Dr. Allen Wellness. That's spelled out DoctorAllen, wellness, all one word, no spaces, no underscores, .com.
Okay.
Or they can review my newsletter archive or go through our blog posts and get a little more of a feel about who we are, what we're about, and whether we're a good fit or not.
Okay, excellent. And please reach out to Dr. Allen. This has been a fantastic webinar. I learned a lot.
Great.
And I look forward to having you back again for part 2.
Wonderful. You went fantastic. I can't wait.
Excellent.
All right.
So if you just bear with us for a moment, we're going to make a transition. And thank you so much, Dr. Allen. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
And it's my pleasure to have who's on deck now. Ms. Christina Stays from the SBA, and she's going to share some services and some information about the SBA. So hi, Tina. Welcome.
Hi,
It's good to
Kathleen.
see you.
Good to see
Thank you
you.
for coming.
Oops, sorry.
Yes, it's okay.
Sorry, I'm not gonna-
So Yes, it's always a pleasure to have the SBA in such an awesome, supportive and go-to agency, and being a member of the staff of the Nevada Women's Business Center. Thank you so much for helping us with our programs and our
Absolutely.
services.
Thank you.
And I'm just pleased to have you here as an additional resource for our viewers to talk about the SBA and its programs and services.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. I
Sure.
appreciate you letting me take a few minutes to talk about SBA. The Women's Business Center is an SBA program, and we're very fortunate here in Nevada that we have fantastic Women's Business Center. They're located here in Las Vegas, but you guys cover the whole state, right?
Yes, we sure do.
So reach out to them. I just want to say that if you are thinking of starting your business or you've been in business, sometimes people don't realize that the SBA is here. Small Business Administration's been around since 1953, so we do a lot of things just to support small businesses. We have our loan program, which a lot of people, they say SBA, they think of loans. So
Yes.
we have two, well, we're not a direct lender, so we have two programs that you would go to one of our lenders to, 7A and the 504. 7A is working capital, purchasing inventory, what have you. 504 more for purchasing a warehouse, a property, some kind of building. You're gonna expand your business by actually owning something. And so those are two primary loan programs that we have. We also provide counseling, and we provide
Yes.
that through the Women's Business Center. So reach out to Kathleen, because she's a great resource for you. The Women's Business Center obviously is partially federally funded, so they do not discriminate. So you gentlemen out
Yes.
there, reach out to Kathleen as well. They are here to help. You guys provide incubator, space for people, counseling, and they also have a microloan program.
Yes.
Through VADC. So if you're looking for working capital and an alternative lender, they're also available for that. Then we have SCORE,
Yes.
the Service Corps of Retired Executives. Fantastic
Yes,
group.
they are.
Fantastic
Yes.
group here in Nevada. We have two chapters. We have the Las Vegas Southern Nevada chapter, and then we have the Northern Nevada chapter that provide training, counseling, and mentorship, and invaluable assistance.
Yes, invaluable.
Because a lot
Absolutely.
of these guys are, they've been in business, had their own businesses, are giving back. They're volunteers,
Yes.
not volunteers, and they're giving back, and they're mentoring and training people that are thinking of starting a business. Somebody that has a business
Yes.
needs to know how to grow it. Help with a business plan. That's something that the Women's Business Center can help with as well. Then we also have the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center.
Yes, excellent
And,
resource.
Yeah, and their main office or main center is in Reno, but they are throughout the state as well.
Yes.
We do have them available for you here in Las Vegas. All this information, it seems like a lot, sba.gov/NV, and you'll get to all of that. And you'll get to the district office, which if you need clarification or you get lost, just call us and we'll help you figure it all out. We also provide government contracting assistance.
Yes, excellent.
U.S. government, biggest purchaser of goods and services in the entire world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So chances are they buy it.
Yes.
So if you want to get connected with that, we have folks that can assist you with that. Now we have the 8A program, which is a business development program. It's a 9-year program. It's not automatic, and it's basically, it was designed to assist businesses, small businesses that were considered underserved. So women, minorities, veterans, all fit into that category. So if you're interested in that, you have to be in business for 2 years
Mhm.
before you can apply. But, and if you get accepted, you get assigned to our office here, and we have business opportunity specialists that would assist you trying to get those government contracting. And then we have government contracting folks on the other side that
Yes.
oversee to make sure that the big agencies, Department of Defense,
Right.
Transportation, what
Yes.
have you, the ones with all the big contracts,
Mhm.
are giving those small business
Right.
set aside contracts to small businesses.
Yes.
So SBA is kind of like a watchdog for that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
yeah,
essential.
Yeah, that is very essential. And then we also provide advocacy.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know about that because big businesses have lobbyists. So they go in front of Congress and they try to get their agendas addressed and so forth. SBA does the same thing in our Office of Advocacy. So small business owners that have issues can reach out
Right.
to our folks in Washington and make their concerns or
Mhm.
praises, whatever it is,
Yes.
known, and they do address, they do go in front of Congress and testify. So that's a really big,
That is huge,
just
yes.
huge thing. And finally, I'll just say that SBA also provides disaster assistance.
Yeah,
Now,
that's essential.
it is essential.
Yes.
It is, that is, if you get a SBA disaster loan, that would be a direct loan. And so that's not like the other side of the
Mhm.
house where, it's not just for, small businesses, it's for homeowners and renters, anyone that's affected by a disaster.
Oh,
Yeah,
very
it would
good.
have to be declared by the president or
Mhm.
so you would, SBA goes out with, alongside with FEMA.
Okay.
And so if there's, God forbid, something, you would see our folks
Yeah.
out there. So again, all this information is available on our webpage, sba.gov. And if you do /NV, you'll get to the Nevada site. And reach out to us, we're here to help.
Yes.
So thank you for the few minutes to address the audience.
Oh, yeah,
and-
definitely.
yeah.
It's always, excuse me, it's always a pleasure to have
Thank you,
you and to
Kathleen.
share the resources of the SBA with the community. And please go to the SBA's website. And being a former entrepreneur, I use the SBA's website with its videos about.
Oh, yes, I didn't even mention
it's,
that. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
training videos. I mean, any and everything about entrepreneurship is in a training or video format. So I highly recommend that you explore that in your growth and development. So thank you so much,
You're
Tina,
welcome.
for sharing
You're welcome.
all your
Anytime.
services with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for tuning in with us. And again, I'd like to thank Dr. Evan Allen for being here today and giving us some excellent advice about some best business practices if you are embarking upon your journey as an entrepreneur in the health and wellness sector. And once again with Christina Stace with the SBA and sharing their programs and services. I'm Kathleen Taylor with the Nevada Women's Business Center, and thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take care. Bye. Yay!
You rock it,
You're really good at interviewing.
Oh.
Very,
She
very
is.
good. Yeah,
She
very
is.
effortlessly transitional.
Yeah.
Really nice.